Testing. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Hi everybody. Let me know if you guys can hear me loud and clear. Let me know if you can hear me loud and clear. Yes, honey. This is the last Man Up show of the year. So and I'm early, 3 o'clock. Early show today. I want to try something new. I want to try something new. Mainly because I want to see what you midday, mid afternoon audience is like, especially with your engagement and, of course, the views, but more so in the engagement, the comments in the comment section, donations, or whatever. And then I am going to premiere a clip tonight on this channel. So I want to see how that's set up because I said I wanted to do this show earlier instead of 9 p.m. at night, but we may go back to 9 p.m. next week at the top of the year. I don't know. Or we just may, flip it back and forth. Maybe one day in the afternoon on a Monday, maybe at night on a Monday. But today I'm here early. So, yes, Kaden, this is alive. This is Man Up Monday. I see the judge. He's hopping on. Judge, I'm gonna wait for you to get set up because I want people seeing you walk through your house, honey. um, this is alive. Thank you, sister. Says you sound fabulous. Thank you. So, yeah, I mean, and plus, it's a lot of, I don't want to do breaking news at night because by that time, it's not really breaking news anymore. But, honey, we got to talk about Minnesota, the whole state, particularly Somaliland and Minneapolis, Minnesota. Fraud, fraud, fraud. Now we have fraud in Ohio. 2026, all eyes going to be on Ohio and a whole lot of other elections, but Ohio is going to be mainly in the spotlight. Illegals, Somalians, the Haitians' temporary status is ending next month in January, and Vivek is running for governor, and y'all need to vote for him. I am. I'm voting for him. I don't care, Indian or not. I don't care. I'm voting. He's a citizen. He's a legal citizen. And we're going to get into that too. We're going to get into Vivek versus Nick Fuentes, Musk versus Mamdani, Trump-Netanyahu, Zelensky, all up in Mar-a-Lago over the weekend. And Putin like, I don't give a damn because I'm going to still do what I want to do. What else? Touch on a little bit of black unemployment. Probably sprinkle in some pop culture. Tyler Perry got another lawsuit. But the main focus is Minnesota daycare fraud and Ohio. What is going on with all of you foreigners stealing American taxpayers' dollars? And shout out to everybody on X. Hi, guys. Hi, Roddick. Please repost on X. Please share on YouTube. Guys, like and share this stream. And I'm going to start going live on Instagram as well. Like and share this screen. What is this? No. Okay. Yeah, do it that way. And repost, like and repost on X. Okay, I got that there. Are you ready, Judge? I'll wait for you to sit and everything. Yeah. So we got a lot to talk about today. And you know what? I was going to open up phone lines and test the phones. Maybe I'll drop the link because this is the last Man Up show of the year. So technically, this is like a year in review. Yes, money laundering. It does. It does. Money laundering into political campaigns. See, Republicans and Democrats money launder. It's just that it seemed like the Democrats is about to get caught. Hi.
Hello there.
How are you?
It's cold.
I know it's cold here too.
It's freezing. Car said 32 degrees when I got back home.
Well, it's colder here. It's 20 something here.
And that's at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, 1:30, 1:45 in the afternoon.
Yeah, so I figure we do the afternoon and see how you feel during the afternoons, how I feel, how, to do an afternoon show. Because we always
Well,
do it at night. You may wanna just do it at night going forward. Um, so, just playing around with some things today. Um,
the thing is just scheduling conflicts likely to be the problem, if any. But
Yeah. So it's not mandatory that we're just going to permanently switch to afternoons. Listen, if you want to do it an afternoon one Monday, fine. If not, we could just do it at night. So, but I wanted to try afternoon today, just to see, okay, how long are we up here and um what is the rest of my day like? Like, does it give me more time to edit and upload clips for the next day and stuff like that? So we'll see. It's a tester. Um, Happy New Year.
informally, ho ho ho.
So,
Al-Samain, Osiris, Odin, Mithras all celebrated the 25th.
the
Al
25th.
Samain is where we get the Christmas tree, Tannenbaum from, and the mistletoe. An old, ancient Celtic holiday.
Oh, because it's Christmas, because it's a pagan holiday.
Yeah, Samain starts around October 31st and it runs through December 25th. Al Samain means the end of the dark times. Traditionally, it's 2 to 3, maybe 4 days after the shortest day of the year. And that was to confirm that the days were getting longer. So they had end of the dark times. And that's where you get the Christmas tree from. That's where you get the mistletoe from.
Interesting.
And don't forget Odin, that's the Norse chief god, and Mithras, who was the god of the Roman legions, and Osiris, the ancient Egyptian god, all had the 25th. Jesus is still celebrated at other times and other places in the world, most notably the end of February, beginning of March. But the Catholic Church moved it from that period of time to the 25th because the peasantry, the ordinary people, the commoners wouldn't stop celebrating the other days. It's sort of like why they moved Juneteenth into June so they could associate the black holiday with the rainbow occasions that occur in June, I
Mhm.
guess.
I guess too. Well, listen, I want to get a little bit into before we get into the Minnesota fraud. I just want to highlight you baby boomers. It says baby boomers are sitting on $85 trillion while millennials wait for the inheritance. Baby boomers are 20% of Americans and control $85 trillion in assets. Millennials are the same 20% of the population, but hold just $18 trillion, about one fifth of the boomer haul. Gen Z has it worse, 6 trillion total, despite making similar share of Americans. The timing jackpot explains most of it. Boomers entered the workforce during the post war economic boom with rising wages and strong growth. They bought homes in 1970s when inflation made real estate the obvious hedge. They then rode the longest bull market in history through their 401ks. The result is concentration. Boomers now hold 54% of all stocks, about $25 trillion, while millennials only 8%, roughly 3.9 trillion. What millennials got instead was the dot-com crash, 2008 housing collapse, COVID recession, stagnating wages, and student debt. By age 30, millennials carry roughly twice the debt boomers had at the same age. The average first-time home buyer age hit a record 40 years in 2025, largely because boomers are not selling. Surveys show 61% say they will let go of their home. They will never let go of their homes. 61% of boomers. The math that matters is structural housing, interest rates, healthcare, tuition, and childcare were all significantly cheaper for the boomers than for millennials and Gen X, which is true because I'm Gen X. As NYU economist Edward Wolf put it, it's astonishing how their relative wealth has taken off in the last 30 plus years. The punchline nobody wants to say out loud is that younger generations are now banking on the so called great wealth transfer, an estimated $124 trillion in inheritance expected to move over the coming decades. To be blunt, millennials and Gen Z are waiting for grandma to die so they can finally afford a house.
Guess what? We've been reaching a determination that we just might spend it all and leave nothing to anybody that didn't earn it.
And that's why your generation is selfish.
Well, it's like we look at what's happened. Uh, a lot of this isn't really baby boomers because understand when the peak hit, it was in the middle of the 1960s, and in 1965, the oldest baby boomers were 19. I was 18, and the youngest had yet to be born. They would be born up to 1966. So that 20-year period from 1946 to 1966 is the boomer period. And to be candid, a lot of what people either blame us for or we take credit for was done by the greatest generation, which was the one before us, from 19
Mhm.
26 to 1946, and from those from 1906 up to 1926. So there is a lot to be said for what's going on. But one difference I would say, and I bring this to everybody's attention, we grew up in an era where our parents had gone through the Great Depression, World War II. Our grandparents had been through the Great Depression, World War I and World War II, Korea, Vietnam was just starting up, and some of us were drafted at 18 and 19 to go sent over there. So we had a different perspective on things. There was a premium attached to going to college because it kept you from getting a nice, fun, sun filled vacation in the Dom, courtesy of the US government. So a lot of people went to college and finished. And we got raised quite a bit differently from those who came of age in the 1980s and 1990s and later, because we were taught there were always consequences to every choice you made. You didn't get any free ones, and it was up to you to determine what happened to you later in life, not somebody else. And that is something that is evaporated.
So, me,
Entitlement, DEI, and all that other stuff.
well, me reading that clip, that quick summary summation of the article, they keep focus on Gen Zs and millennials. Well, what about us Gen X? Because we're next in line to inherit the boomers, or they just gonna y'all gonna skip us. um, but the first thing that came up,
1966 to 1986, 1986 to 2001, 2001 to 2021, you see. So you got these 20-year periods in there.
no, I get all that. My thing is, the first thing that came out your mouth is, well, we may just spend it all,
Yeah,
and
well, we're talking about that. A lot of us are.
and my father is kind of echoing the same sentiments as that. And I'm just like, why would you spend it all and not pass it down, especially if you black, and not
Because we
pass
don't
it
feel
down?
that we've earned it.
Well, other families are passing it down, which is why they have an advantage.
Black families, if you were active in the 60s, 70s, you're very disappointed with what's going on. Um, the black race through the younger generations has embraced fully black exploitation, demeaning use of the N word again, embracement of all of the negative stereotypes that generations of black folk up to that point had been fighting very hard to overcome or to eliminate, if not obliterate. And now those negatives are being adopted. Listen to gangster rap video, look at it, or listen to some of the lyrics and the ideation of some hip hop rap. You see, so it's not pleasant. Look at the movie industry. Look at Tyler Perry. Look at Oprah Winfrey and what they've been pushing. Basically, glorification of dysfunction.
Well,
So
that's
we're
your
not pleased.
generation you're naming.
Yeah, Tyler Perry is not me,
He is
and
part of the boomers.
he's
He's the
not a
last.
boomer. He was
Oh my
born after
God, he's
19.
the youngest
Was he
of
born after?
the
Was
boomers.
he born after 1966?
No,
He was not born before that, was he?
Oprah is a boomer.
I'm not talking about Oprah. I'm
You
talking
just said
about.
her
I
name.
know, but I'm adding she is not one of our favorites.
It doesn't
Uh,
matter.
that the point is she's not one of our favorites. She comes later. I met her in 1973
Okay, we don't need to
when
go
she
into
was graduating from TSU. She's one of the younger boomers.
Generation X. We were neglected, and what? And so what?
Yeah, I know that's
Let me
cause
say this. Let me say this. Let me say this. Gen
yeah.
X, we were neglected by our parents, the boomers, to a certain degree, even though because it was the silent generation of our grandparents that really raised us, which is why we do have working skills and manners. However, because we were neglected by the parents of the baby boomers, we created our own lane. We were very innovative. So when you talk about hip hop, even though you don't like it, there are a lot of people who don't. I don't like the direction of hip hop today, but I'm sorry. In the beginning, when you talk about poor black kids that created something, not jobs, not just on stage, but off the stage, behind the scenes, talk about fashion, any industry, my generation, we pulled ourselves up by the bootstraps.
Well, let's get to the music industry.
And because
If
we were
you
neglected.
analyze American music over the last 200 years, the trend is it lasts from 7 to 9 years. What you have with the rap industry is 45 years old. It's essentially stagnated because the people that finance it and get the most money out of it have a vested interest in if it ain't broke, don't fix it, because it sells to male youth all over the world who are anxious for any semblance of masculinity being put in front of them. So it does that, even though it's not really masculine what it shows, because it's dependency, it's not dealing with providing and protecting, but exploitation, which is a feminine thing rather than a masculine thing. So it passes off and it sells in Tokyo, Berlin, Moscow, London, Pretoria, South
Okay, so
Africa,
let me say this.
Nairobi.
Let me just say this because we got to go on to the main topic right now. But like reparations, I want my check. You baby boomers, who are my parents, I want the check. I want that inheritance.
We did it too. We did
So,
it at
so
least three
you
times for the
understand my
boomers. My parents did it
right?
twice,
You
and
see how
my
you
grandparents did
over?
it at least 3 or 4 times. So remember, one of my grandparents actually was going to benefit from it. He'd made an application with what was to be his first wife. So that was back in
But I'm
19,
not right. No. I'm saying that you baby boomers are Gen X reparations. You are my reparations. So write that check. Hand
Why?
me, hand me that will, the inheritance. I want to be all up in the will. I want my name on the pension on the 401k. I want my name on the house.
Earn
Yes,
it. Earn it.
I earn it. I earned it.
Well, maybe you do, but too many of you don't. Earn it. Do something different. Take the struggle back up. It disappeared
Cut the
after
check.
us.
Cut the check.
No, we're not. We're going to spend it. We earned it. We'll spend it. You can't take it with you, so don't have anything left to take. Spend it all. Reverse mortgages. Hey, they're great things.
We got to do 50-year markets. Listen, speaking of checks, honey, what is going on with these Somalians?
Well, they take advantage of the situation. The Democratic Party has set up an atmosphere that makes it easy for those who are unscrupulous to exploit it. They come from a culture where dash is part of the regular scheme. What's dash? DASH? It means the undertable bribe, the corruption, the what do I get out of introducing you to somebody. It's expected that if I get a budget to manage, I'm going to steal some of it because that's just the way things are done in the world. And the immigration services have declined the test and the instruction that they used to give. So people don't know. Some have been fast tracked, and it's a good situation if you are a con man to take advantage of.
Listen, DOJ officially says Minnesota fraud can't be overstated. $9 billion Medicaid scam, empty daycares, and political fallout. Let me play this clip here.
Yeah, and the Democratic Party was trying to say somebody is being evil by holding things up because we think that these people should be able to take advantage of this ripoff, but somebody else had said, no, we're not going to go with it. So the Democratic Party was saying it was the Republicans who weren't going along with the program because they were against this big picture set of programs when actually it was the specifics like this.
Video showing misspelled signs, locked doors, empty classrooms even at a Minneapolis daycare center. Now, the state allegedly has also given the center millions in funding. Connor Hansen, live in New York City with the latest on that for us. Hey, Connor.
Hi, Kevin. Well, for years now, there have been allegations of widespread fraud and investigations in Minnesota, but now there's even more scrutiny following a new video that's gone viral coming from an independent journalist visiting daycare centers in the state that are receiving millions, apparently, in tax dollars with no signs of children there. Take a look.
Can I put my son in a daycare here?
No, I don't know.
Can I speak to someone?
No, I don't know.
No? Yeah, I would like to see if I can put my son Joey here.
Now, 23-year-old journalist Nick Shirley visited one business that couldn't even spell its name correctly with a sign saying Leering Center instead of Learning. Some had blacked out windows and most had no signs of children there on a weekday. The viral video sparking a strong reaction from Vice President J.D. Vance, who wrote, "Politicians like it because they get power, welfare cheats like it because they get rich, but it's a zero-sum game and they're stealing both money and political power from Minnesotans." Earlier this month, Minnesota's assistant U.S. attorney said fraud involving Medicaid services likely reached more than $9 billion.
Fraud is not small. It isn't isolated. The magnitude cannot be overstated. It's a staggering industrial scale fraud.
FBI Director Kash Patel just posted on X saying that might just be the tip of the iceberg. Despite mounting criticism aimed at him from the White House and others, Governor Tim Walz has blamed Republicans for the lack of a solution.
Nobody in the legislature on the Republican side is interested in solving this. My God, it would be the worst thing in the world for them if this is solved like we're doing it here early this year, because then what are they going to run on?
And we've reached out to Governor Walz for comment on that video. No response so far. Kash Patel also warning that possible denaturalization and deportation proceedings could come from this. Kevin?
Here's another clip.
Right here, ran massive fraud in the state of Minnesota, especially in Minneapolis. This daycare right here, ran by Somalians, has taken in from the Minnesota government $1.9 $1 million. This daycare says it can hold up to 40 children. I went up to the door. The door is locked, and as you can see, the windows are blacked out. I can't hear any children inside this daycare. It's midday right now. You'd think there'd be children in there playing, being taught, but no one is in there. This daycare, within 2 years, has taken in over $2 million. The Somalians are robbing the taxpayers in Minnesota blind. This is just one daycare located in Minneapolis that are doing exactly the same thing. We've went into daycare after daycare. All the doors are locked, all the windows are blocked out, and they're raking in millions upon millions of dollars. Tim Walz's Minnesota is allowing this to go on. It's super easy to find fraud. All you need to do is go up to a door, try to open it. It's closed and there's no children. So you know these daycares, they're not full, but yet they're taking in millions of dollars every year. Let me know your thoughts on this one.
Well, Tim Walz is talking about it's the Republicans' fault. Basically, he just got discovered with his ineptitude at the beginning of this year. So that's when it came to everybody's attention. And I can guarantee you that there are a lot of Minnesotan Democrat officials who are getting kickbacks or under the table payments on these things. So that's one of the reasons that they are not doing anything about it. That's what we've been seeing down in Atlanta. When you read between the lines, you're also seeing so many Democratic Party officials in the state of Georgia who are apparently getting kickbacks and money's disappearing, and that seems to be Fannie Willis's main theme. They're picking on me because I'm a black woman, when what's actually going on is, where is the money? What happened to it?
Right. Exactly. Let me play this here.
How deep is this fraud here inside of Minnesota?
It is far worse than anybody can imagine. You heard it's 7 to 10 billion and maybe more, and now the numbers have been revised and put out there publicly that they think it's more like 8 billion. How I got involved is that where my office is here in Minneapolis, I'm sort of in the heart of all of this fraud, and I would see these child care centers. I said, well, there aren't any kids there. It's the middle of the day, and all I see are a couple of guys standing out front smoking. And then I'd go by another daycare and I'd see the same thing. I said, well, where do these kids play? And so I started to go online and look, and I said, this place is licensed for 80 children. They had 0 children. Every time I went by there, they never had a single child there. Then I started to see all these transportation companies going around, and it was always a Somali driver. And I said, well, that's great. They're out there transportation, contributing, but they never had a passenger, never, ever once. And I said, well, what is all this transportation? What are they doing? So then I found out that in Minnesota, they have something called non-emergency medical transportation. So this is going to the dentist's office, therapy, whatever it might be. And I said, well, how many of these companies are there? And the research came back that there are 1,020 of them, and more than 800 of them are Somali-owned. Nobody from the state of Minnesota ever cross-checks to see if any rides were ever actually provided. All they did was write the check.
So right here we have all this paperwork. And how are you getting all this information about the fraud?
A lot of it is through my own research, and then I have some contacts at the Capitol going back many, many years. And so the data that I'm getting is 100% accurate, coming directly from research done by people at the state Capitol.
All this paperwork right here, what are we looking at?
The areas of fraud that I have numbers for are mostly related to childcare. This is massive fraud that is beyond anyone's imagination, the scope. And so, for example, there's a childcare not far from here in Minneapolis that has two childcares listed at the same address. And together, they're licensed supposedly for 120 children. I have never seen a single child there ever, and I've been by that place at least 100 times.
These Somalians, these groups are setting up these daycares, these childcare centers, getting money from the government, but there's no kids.
No kids. Never had any of them. They're all fraught with violations, and even though they have these violations, they're still in operation and they're still getting money. And it's millions of dollars for every one of them every year.
And who's getting the money? And where are they getting the money from?
So we have a thing called CCAP. It's a blend of federal and state money. The bottom line is it's taxpayer money, so it's state money and it's federal money. And the problem is the people of the state of Minnesota are the ones writing the checks. This is kind of the maddening thing is you have daycare, so you have adult daycare, and then you have child care, and then you have health care. And a lot of these same names keep coming up on all of these different types of businesses. And then, of course, we have the transportation. And a lot of those same names appear, a lot of the same addresses. There's one building that has 14 Somali healthcare companies at the same address. There's another building in St. Paul that has 22 Somali healthcare businesses at the same address.
And the government knows about this.
The government knows they're writing the checks. Yeah, the Democrats over there just writing the checks. What has happened is that the Somali community is a very closed community. They will not speak to anyone outside the community and talk about what's going on within the community. They vote as a block. And so when you're a politician, you're saying, look, I've got 100,000 people in Minnesota that if I do something for the community, they're going to vote for me. And that's what it's all about, is getting the votes. And then the people here in Minnesota, you hear this term, Minnesota nice. I'm so sick of that term. The people here are so afraid of being called a racist or an Islamophobe, and they're afraid of their own shadow.
That's the problem. You know, these people that are implicated can claim I'm part of a protected group. You can't accuse me without having something wrong with you. That's what's going on here in Memphis, Tennessee, Memphis, Shelby County, Tennessee. And most glaring example is the Tyree Nichols case. Attorney Ben Crump, who is an out-of-state attorney, filed an action using a local law firm on behalf of the biological mother of the deceased Tyree Nichols. And under Tennessee law, when she put Tyree Nichols up for adoption, she lost all parental rights, so she has no standing. The statute of limitations has run on the adoptive parents in California, so they can't file. And nobody has done anything about moving for a dismissal on behalf of the city of Memphis and Shelby County. So the chief of police, who was fired from Atlanta, about to be fired from Raleigh, Durham, North Carolina, and the former mayor and the current mayor are all probably lined up to allegedly receive a cut of the $550 million lawsuit that has been filed that should not even be pending because nobody who is a party to it has any standing to bring the lawsuit. So this is the kind of thing you're doing. Here, another little boondoggle, the city and the county gave $220 million to the Sheraton hotel chain to renovate a rundown Sheraton hotel in downtown Memphis. $220 million. It looks like 8.6 million went to the political party representatives, Democrats, and now the city is going to buy the hotel from the chain for $250 million plus. So that's $470 million, almost half a billion. And then they're going to, after they buy it, rent it back to the Sheraton for $1 a year, which is absurd. That just means more money that the crooks in office will be able to get under the table. So this kind of thing is just typical. That's what we're seeing in Atlanta. This is what we're seeing in Memphis, Shelby County,
Ohio,
Tennessee, Ohio. This is what we
New
saw
York,
with Tish James in New York. This is
California.
California. This stuff is going on everywhere they hold it. It's like they aren't interested in good government. That's why they're attacking Trump so much, because they have nothing to offer except we're going after the boogeyman, the Baba Yaga, who will come to you in your dreams and ruin them so you don't get Walt Disney's "If you dream upon a star, makes no difference who you are, your dreams come true," blah, blah, blah. And it seems like good governance is not part of their agenda, but being given the opportunity to embezzle, misappropriate, and outright steal is.
Right.
That's allegedly.
I want to play this clip from Tim Walz.
Do you think the worst of the state government fraud cases have been uncovered, or do you have reason to believe there is more to come?
Oh, I think there's more. And look, we've got organized crime ring in Minnesota. I think it's been going on for years.
From feeding our future to autism programs to housing stabilization, Minnesota taxpayers are victims of more than $1 billion of fraud. Do you think there was not enough skepticism for too long in state agencies that were overseeing these programs?
I think it's an unfortunate situation, but yeah, I think you need to be more skeptical now in this world. I think the COVID pandemic and the releasing of some of the rules, the relaxing of the rules, fostered this.
On feeding our future, some of it in retrospect seems so obvious. Thousands of children supposedly being fed at these sites that were, it just physically wasn't even possible. Was that a big miss by members of your administration who were supposed to be overseeing that?
I think in retrospect now, if you have the resources, and I think we do have more of those now, yes, it makes sense to just go out there and see if someone's doing this. Go out there and knock on the door, see if they're doing it.
The Republican-led House Fraud Prevention and Agency Oversight Committee has held multiple hearings over the past several months. A common criticism in the hearings is that the governor hasn't held enough people in his administration accountable for failure to detect fraud sooner. Ultimately, does the buck stop with you? I'm sure you've heard the criticism that Governor Walz was looking the other way when all of this was happening.
Well, why would I do that? Why would I do that, Tom? These are programs that I champion. These are programs that Republicans didn't vote for and don't want. They're stealing from us. I'm as angry as anybody. I want to stop them.
Mr. President, in the last legislative session, the Minnesota Senate passed a bill to create an Office of Inspector General, independent of the executive and legislative branches. It failed even though it was the #1 priority in the House. A bill to create an Office of Inspector General passed the Senate last year with broad bipartisan support, 60-7, but it failed to even get a vote in the House, and some House members have said you were not a big champion of that idea.
That is not true. That is not true. I have supported it. I supported it publicly.
But the governor is quick to add he doesn't think an Office of Inspector General will solve all the fraud problems.
Look, the idea of an inspector general, we have them in the Department of Education. We have them in the Department of Human Services. We have them with the legislative auditor. The idea of one centralized IG, I think it's fine. I don't think it's going to fix everything you think it's going to fix.
One thing is clear. Republicans will make fraud a major issue in the 2026 governor's race and legislative elections.
It seems like they're a little more gleeful than they should be that fraud is going on because they see it as a political hammer.
Walz says he's prepared to make his case to voters about his work to fight fraud.
I mean,
what did I say when he was picked as Kamala Imhoff's running mate for the Democratic Party candidacy for president and vice president? I said, they'd let crime go free, and it's in their interest for it to run rampant. They are not about public peace, dignity, and order. They are into something entirely.
Right. And that's what I'm saying, because you are the governor of that state, and you mean to tell me this just didn't happen in the last 2 years. This has been going on for several years, and you had no idea about it. So I think everybody is lying. Everybody is lying. And yes, if I'm a Republican, I'm going to ride this fraud thing out and keep exposing it, because it's a very important election year, and it has to stop because you're stealing money, taxpayer dollars.
Yeah, that's what government's supposed to do, to protect the interest of the citizenry, and to ignore fraud, embezzlement, misappropriation of public funds is to abrogate your responsibility as somebody who's either elected or appointed to a government office. It's extraordinary.
What'd you do?
Some food crawled under the desk here.
Oh, the dog.
Yes.
Honey, it's time. You need to put her in her little cage.
Well, it's not the little one, it's the big one.
Well, I was talking about the big one, but I was just saying little cage. Well, Secretary Christy Noem, she says Homeland Security investigations at ICE are on the ground. Huh?
I just coughed. Go ahead.
She said Homeland Security investigations, ICE are on the ground in Minneapolis right now, conducting massive investigations on child care and other rampant fraud.
No. Mobile Dilanza is the location before everybody comes.
Perfect. Are there any subcontractors or anything you guys deal with? Say like other businesses that you partner with that you use for a service of any kind, maybe transportation or anything like that? No.
We provide usually parents, they come like this, drop the kids, they go to work, and then we take care of the kids.
Awesome. And
Yeah, they're going in the store here. So, do you think the Trump administration is going to take this seriously, or are they trying to use this as a publicity stunt?
I think they're taking it seriously, and I think one of the indicia of seriousness is that they're taking their time on it. They're conducting thorough investigations. They've got people, staff, going through this information, these records, and they're building cases on people. If you do like the Democratic Party and rush right out to get an indictment on something, a lot of times it's this showpiece, knowing that they don't expect it to stick. Just throw it on the wall,
Right.
and some of the sauce sticks up there, and they use the sauce as staining the wall to stain the people who are subject to this lawfare. Warfare using the law, which is why we have the Bill of Rights to protect against. You get substantial prosecutions that stand. And that is the difference. We saw that with what happened in Georgia with that debacle, that expensive little thing that we are now discovering was used as a dodge to misappropriate public funds, is now up in smoke, gone, because there was nothing to it to begin with. Now,
Well,
that's the problem.
so we was just listening to Tim Walsh talking about the inspector general here. And the thing is, you have an inspector general for a reason, because this particular daycare had 95 violations, but they still got $80 million from the state.
Why would any sane person not with this indicia of wrongness conduct an investigation? But you see, what is the famous saying right now amongst the woke? Just cut the check. And that's the mantra. Just cut the check and it'll all go away. Oh, we can't arrest these people and prosecute them because they only shoplifted $999. They didn't shoplift 1,000. And businesses are closing up because they can't afford the constant losses. Oh, they're just victims. So we ignore theft and death on the city streets of America because it's not politically correct to go prosecute these poor victims of the system themselves who are down and out, and they're not getting what everybody else gets. So aren't they entitled as well? This kind of attitude. Public order, that's horrible. That means that these people who want to run around naked on floats in broad daylight with their penises out so some children can come up and pull on the man's thing because he wants you to, this will be restricted if we get public peace, dignity, and order. We can't have that. This kind of attitude is crazy. That's the first reason, one of the reasons that people have government is so that you can get law and order, peaceability, and accountability for what happens where you live. And for some reason, individuals in the Democratic Party just want to throw that out of the window and start hollering about somebody's suffering, somebody's oppressed, somebody's a victim. So all law and order ought to go by the wayside. And oh, by the way, we live in interesting places. Speaking of Minnesota, one of the I don't know if he's a farmer now, but he was one of the city council for Minneapolis, St. Paul. He was so actively involved after the George Floyd thing and BLM and getting rid of police that I found it interesting that they spent on protecting him with his bodyguard services just about what they saved on not having police for everybody else. And like over there where this happened at the cupcake shop, the citizenry has had to set up its own law patrols because the police just moved out and they refused to come in for broken legs, emergency situations. They won't send in emergency vehicles. The people have got a stretcher crews set up where they have to take the people out outside of the radius of the area where there are no police anymore
Well,
to get treatment. It's ridiculous.
I want to play just the first 10 seconds of this clip here because you see she's wearing a name brand Gucci hijab scarf, but the first 10 seconds of what she's saying is like an oxymoron.
Hi, I'm Ubah Kadere. I'm a single black immigrant mother and homeowner in the unincorporated area of Renton, and I'm running for King County Council in District 9. I came to King County 25 years ago as a 15-year-old refugee. My values are shaped by my lived experiences, my policy chops, and my organizing background. For decades, we have seen our Black, Indigenous, people of color communities and working class communities facing systemic and structural racism. These problems peaked last year with COVID and a renewed reckoning of systemic racial injustices. Today, we need bold vision rooted in community to reimagine how King County functions. I bring forth decades-long experience building policy to tackle systemic issues in our region. I have consistently delivered wins on housing.
Yeah, so first of all,
what have you done about the crime?
Right. Well, but why are you talking about black? Why are you talking about systemic racism when Obama and Bush allowed you guys a free pathway to come here? And from the time y'all got here, you've been robbing and taking advantage of our system, fraudulent the system here. You know, you talking about you're a single mother, and I guess you can afford that Gucci scarf. You know, you a homeowner. Well, where'd you get the money from to buy that home? Like, I'm questioning everything. And so what they're doing, like the Democrats love to do, is use the racism playbook. But here you have an immigrant, an African immigrant. This is the African American, not me, talking about some type of systemic racism. But you guys in Somaliland there in Minnesota, Minneapolis, you control that area, your politics, you know, the education. They're the ones that's in charge. So where's the systemic racism coming from? Stop putting black, seeing black. No. You're African. You're an immigrant.
It was a very different situation back in the 60s when racism was still at its peak and you could go places where they still had signs, no colored allowed, no Negroes allowed, whites only.
And her kind wasn't in this country when that was going on.
I know that. So this thing now about this lament about the residuum from slavery 160, 180, 200 years ago sounds rather ridiculous in retrospect because essentially you get your act together, you sat down at the table and you did your homework, the kitchen table, you can become a multimillionaire just as quickly as anybody else in the country. But we singularly do not prepare ourselves to take that mantle. We are not doing what other ethnic groups are doing, figuring out how the economic system works. See, you know what interests me about
there's the other groups are stealing.
Yeah, but you see, you know what gets me about this whole thing is it shows a knowledge of how our system works. And so many American.
What happened? See, he touching the desktop. His desktop is to his left or right. He has a Apple Watch. He has his iPad and he has his phone. And I'm pretty sure all four of those things, well, the phone is up and operating, the desktop, the watch, the iPad, they're probably up and working. So the camera went black because probably somebody called him, knocked him off. But then when you saw him look to the side, it was his desktop he was looking to because he has it, everything is connected to each other. Everything is connected to each other. I was
Can you
talking
hear me
about
now?
I can hear you now and see you. I was talking about you. What you was looking at your desktop?
No, I mean, I was trying to cut off a call that was coming in so I didn't get knocked off.
Well,
Uh,
but they're stealing.
yeah, but
You know what they're doing? Yes, they are learning our system to steal
yeah,
billions of
but
dollars. So it's systemic racism.
well, hold on. Here's what the thing is. Too many black Americans do not know how the system works, certainly not well enough to steal from it. These people came in and they learned the system. So why have these descendants of folk that have been here for several hundred years declined to avail themselves of the opportunity and trying to play victim? So what I was saying is you have ample opportunity to be as rich as you want in this country if you learn how it works. And that means sitting down at your table when you are a child and doing your homework. That means for the next generation, and this is the real legacy that needed to be passed on, not the money, but sitting down and having your child do the homework, and if necessary, sitting across the kitchen table to deal with it. But the parents are too busy doing the hip hop thing themselves to pay attention to what the children are doing, and the children are coming of age insufficiently skilled in how things work in the 21st century, whether it's government, music, finance, technology, engineering, math, whether it is how to deal with social skills and get along with other folk. You can hear it. 45 years ago, they would have been talking about now we go to Mr. Cronkite in DC for commentary. Now they go to, we're going to Walt in DC. You see, this familiarity where everybody, in spite of whether you are a failure or you're a success or you're a nobody, is supposed to be treated on the same level as those who are successful. This is something I used to get on people about when I was on the state trial bench. Excuse me, why can't you, sir, operate with a modicum of respect for the people you're addressing? The court is addressing you as sir. And you'll notice that all of the people that are the doctors, lawyers, engineers, businessmen, and make a big income say, sir, ma'am, thank you, please, may I? And you're going around, you can't be insulted. Now, maybe there is a connection, maybe not, but you're going to find out because Officer Williams is going to escort you over there to the local lockup and see if his key works. And if it is, you're going to spend a little bit of time with us and we'll come back and see if you've developed mannerability in a while. And amazingly, they would quickly develop manners when they were compelled to do it. But you see, this stripping everything down of all formality, all politeness and mannerability in discourse and interaction with each other, this thing of you're entitled no matter how little effort you put into your own life, how lazy you are, how little purpose you have, how lacking you may be in direction, how much you fail to understand that there are consequences to anything that you do. Well, guess what? It's time to stop that But you see, that provides the Democratic Party with their only talking point. These guys that are trying to get you to be responsible humans and adults, they're evil, they're Baba Yagas. So we have to protect you from them. Meanwhile, you can undergo theft and death on your city streets. And we don't care because it's more important to us to get rid of all the rules. So yeah,
Well,
that's really stinks. That really stinks, you know?
let me just sum up this Minnesota real quick. For now, this is part one because we gotta ride on this Minnesota fraud. So apparently, following the exposure of million in fraud at Somali-run care centers in Minnesota, similar concerns are now surfacing in Washington State, where 539 of the 5,000 licensed care centers are Somali-run, many lacking physical address. So we could do a follow up on that later on in the week when we pre-record as a part two, because I hear you. Black America, learn how the system works. Get involved in politics. Be productive. But I'm sorry, these people, these fence jumpers, river crossers, and people from these third world war-torn countries, whether we were involved or not, and we allow you to come over here, they steal and take advantage of our system. And the average American just want to work and have a decent home and a decent community and give their children a decent education and pay their taxes. Our taxes should not be taken advantage of by crooks, especially when they just got here yesterday. So we still got to talk about. Oh, I want to talk about Ilion. I want to talk about.
I
Can
hear
you
you.
hear me?
You want to talk about Ilion.
So this says this may have been the early signs of problems in Minnesota. According to her most recent filing, Ilhan Omar's net worth is estimated to be $30 million.
Wait. What?
Yes.
How do you get to be that when for your entire adult life you collected a government check?
And you were fleer.
Wait just a minute. Something is way wrong with this picture.
Yep. 1 second, Judge. Brenda, sometimes it's something with the connection where eventually my words are gonna catch up. It does that with the connection. I gotta call Spectrum to up my Wi-Fi. So it's something with the connection. Thank you for telling me. Yeah, so it says here 66,000% increase since 2019. The increase appears to be from her husband, who started a venture capital firm in 2022, which recently scrubbed all official data from his website. According to the New York Post, another 5 million of that comes from a California winery, which not only had allegations of fraud but was declared a failure in 2023. In 2024, the winery suddenly shot up to 5 million in value. Yet they have allegedly not sold a bottle, posted anything on social media since 2023. The numbers is no longer in service. Omar held her 2018 victory party at the Safari restaurant. In 2020, Elon Omar Mills Act in Congress, which laxed oversight of government-sponsored children's meal programs during a pandemic. The DOJ then found the owner of that restaurant, Salam Hamid, said guilty of stealing more than 12 million for serving 3.9 million phantom meals during a pandemic. And Guhad Hashi said, who worked on Omar's campaign in 2018 to 2020, also pleaded guilty to running a fake food site called Advanced Youth Athletic Development, where he falsely claimed to serve 5,000 meals a day and pocketed 3.2 million out of the food program.
We got a situation like that in Shelby County. Somebody was denied further contracts after it being discovered that they had a $13 million payout to them for allegedly conducting shall we say, tutorial classes that nobody, the principals, hadn't heard of, through multiple small contracts of 100,000 or less that had never been submitted to the board for consideration. And there's every indication that some of the board members allegedly may be taking stuff under the table from that. So this kind of thing is almost like it's a blueprint. Years ago, they had one that was being passed around by the conservative interest. You pull it out of the book and change some of the words around and pass it as legislation in your state, which screwed stuff up because it created great inconsistencies in the state's law. It looks like they've got a playbook like that they pass around to Democratic representatives who take pages out of it and find ways to steal. It's crazy.
Exactly. Now, Republican Randy Fine from Florida said on Wednesday in an interview that he is actively considering forcing a vote to expel Ilhan Omar from Congress. The House has struggled this year to curb the use of tools like expulsion, censure, and impeachment by renegade members as a cudgel against their political adversaries. Some members have even floated raising the threshold for censor, a rebuke that is supposed to carry significant weight, but has been watered down by its growing use in recent years. So it says Fine in an interview on Capitol Hill pointed to fundraising email from Omar's campaign suggesting he be expelled for saying Muslims should be destroyed. I won't send out fundraising emails calling for her expulsion. If I'm going to do that, you will see me bring the piece of paper. I am actively considering that. So Trump said he wants her gone. We have so far one or two Republicans saying that, they want to actively start some type of paperwork to get her expelled from Congress.
By the way, 6 years ago, if Trump had said that, they'd be hammering to get him impeached and or prosecuted using lawfare. It's just free speech. But 6, 7 years ago, Democrats, when they controlled things, would have been kicking a prosecution into high gear like they did down in Georgia.
Right.
Because he said, find me some more votes. And it turns out there were 320 some thousand more votes out there to be found. Perhaps.
Well, here's the thing. With this investigation continuing, in Minnesota, now you have the FBI, the DOJ, Homeland Security. If Ilhan is in any involvement with this fraud and even a governor, is that grounds for her expulsion?
Yes, it is. And by the way, the House has expelled members in my lifetime for a lot less just because there were questions about fraud and embezzlement, misappropriation of funds. There's questions. Nobody got proven guilty of that. But you see, even for the president and vice president, there are three basic grounds for sustaining an impeachment: a finding that the person is engaged in either misdemeanor or felony conduct in office, committed a misdemeanor or felony crime. Bribery is the second category. And thirdly, the category of treason, which is almost impossible to prove these days because it's the only crime defined in the Constitution. And what it requires is going to be hard to establish short of a wartime situation. Now, taking that out, did somebody commit a misdemeanor or a felony in office? Easy enough if they get in that situation. Vice President Spiro Agnew turned in his resignation. Minority Whip Jerry Ford took his place as vice president and agreed to pardon Dick Nixon of his criminality with the Watergate thing way back 50 years ago. And you have that. And are we dealing with bribery? Maybe. But those two things, bribery and committing a general misdemeanor or felony while in office are grounds for impeachment. And as with Spiro Agnew for prosecution, he wound up getting indicted in Maryland and in the federal courts and wound up serving time in each system. So I was out of law school when all that happened. So I was very much interested in it since I was slanting toward trial and criminal law. I paid a lot of attention to that.
Well, listen, that flashlight needs to be up under Tim Walz's ass, Ilion ass, and every Somalian in Minnesota. And
let me add a caveat I think both of us would agree to. If they go through all of the stages and they get properly vetted, take the classes, pass the test, and get sworn in as a citizen, good for them. They joined the team. In other words, they were a walk-on rather than somebody that got drafted during the NFL or the NBA draft, and they made it. Or they didn't get recruited to the college team by the college. They made it. They were walk-ons. I have no problem with that. But some people just got a free pass in this whole thing. And unlike some we've interviewed who have been subject to pendency of citizenship for 15 years, 21 years, 30 years, and are still trying to make it, somebody let some people cut the lines, and apparently they didn't do a good job with who they invited to cut the lines. Now, that I do have a problem with.
right. Ohio. But before we get to Ohio, guys, so I won't forget, please hit the like button. Share this video on all your social media.
Before we say something you don't like.
Thumbs up, thumbs up, thumbs up. Yeah, please hit the like button and share this video. And if you're watching on X, please like and repost on X. So like, share, share, share. Now let's go to Ohio. My home, I could say proudly, my home state now, right? I'm an Ohioan because the cost of living is sweet out here. They got fraud too by the Somalians. They gotta go. And by the way, maybe I'll talk about that later in the week, but Trump is sending the National Guards to Ohio. Yes. But anyway, let's focus on this though. Ohio attorney Mehek Cookie confirms massive fraud in Ohio, another hotbed for Somalis. Let's play this clip.
So these individuals tried to report the fraud that was happening in Ohio and then eventually came to me to say that we're watching providers rubber stamp paperwork for home health. So in Ohio, and there's many states like this, Pennsylvania and other states too, where you can go in and you can say my aging parent needs a home health care and I want to provide it. So the state will, as long as a doctor has approved it, continue to pay you. It could be for 10 hours, 12 hours, up to 24 when it's critical care. So you could sit at home without caring for an elderly parent who really doesn't need it, make about $75,000 to $90,000 a year. Now you add two parents, that's $180,000. Now you add your in-laws, $250,000. You continue to add this and you wonder, what are the services being provided? So a lot of providers came and said, fraud is occurring because we said we weren't going to rubber stamp this paperwork, so they went to other providers. Their home healthcare network saying, we'll make it worth your while. Well, sounds like a kickback to me. So we really need to investigate the Medicaid system and how much it's increased since the Somalian population came and who really needs critical care, because that's meant for our disabled, our elderly, and people who really need it, not to just live off our system. And that's what's happening in Ohio. I think it's ridiculous. I think it's despicable, but authorities are now looking at it from the Attorney General's office to the U.S. Attorney's office. I flagged them all because this is Ohio tax dollars and we have to take it seriously. I'm tired of people telling me, well, this is the way it's always been. It's subjective and we can't really check. No, you can. Audit America, audit Ohio now. And I'm pushing for that in every single state.
Did you hear her?
Yeah.
Medicaid, honey. We have a very large population of Ohio residents are seniors, and you talking about 70,000 for one patient. I need to get into that field. But I wouldn't still. I'll actually have some patients there.
Well, wait till you get to the part about the same supposedly needy elderly person has 2 or 3 people making a claim to care for them at $70,000 a piece per
That's
senior
what she
citizen.
said. That's what she said. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's why she's saying audit, do an audit, and you can uncover all of the fraud and who's doing it. So I want to play this clip here from this woman. I've seen her a couple of times. So it says Ohio woman begs Nick Shirley. That's the journalist guy that's in Minnesota. He uncovered the Minnesota Somali child daycare fraud. So she wants him to come to Ohio to expose the Somali fraud in Ohio.
Nick Shirley, I hope you see this video. Please come to Columbus, Ohio. The reporting you did in Minnesota was amazing. Thank you for that. And if you come to Columbus, Ohio, you will find the exact same fraud. You will see the exact same things, daycares everywhere, the home health care. I mentioned that in my video. I do not have your bravery to go out here and knock on doors like you did. I don't even want to leave my room right now, okay? But you could come here and do what needs to be done. Please, please investigate. Please talk to our government officials. And you see how the police escorted you out of that building? The Columbus police are on the same take, I am sure. Allegedly. Let me say allegedly before I got the Columbus police coming after me, as well as the Somalis. It's a lot. In the meantime, please come here and investigate. You will find the exact same things. And the rest of the country needs to know that it is real. Thank you for all you are doing. And please, please, please stay safe.
So I think more residents need to come out.
You know, this is getting absolutely absurd what's going on. And why won't she come out? Somebody's supposed to assassinate her? I don't buy it. That's just some of this online social media crap. If you have it to say and you're letting us know you said it, then go ahead. If they want to come after you, they have enough information to know who to come after. So why are we trying to do this? This is just, I hate this. It stinks.
Well, this is why you're not on TikTok. So people who do these videos on TikTok and they go viral, I mean, a lot of people agree with what they're saying. Like, I understand what she's saying, but like she said she's too scared to go out. She was like, why can't she go out? Is somebody trying to assassinate her? Listen, honey, I'm about to hit the road next year. I'm going to be going to certain cities in Ohio because Vivek is running for governor. And I want to ask people, who are they voting for? So I'm going to be going out hitting the road in 2026. Yeah. Should I have a weapon with me? But yeah, so Ohio is next. Ohio, I didn't know Minnesota is number 1 with the most Somalis. Ohio is number 2. I did not know that. And I believe the number 3 is Massachusetts. Massachusetts is or Maine. So it's a lot of Somalis here.
Well, you know why? Because those 3 states used to be the upper terminus of the Underground Railroad for escaped slaves before the Civil War started. And there is
Somalis.
Yeah, but see, that's because there is a thing that is 200 years old there, where since the 1820s, where there has been tolerance of black folk of all sorts because the slaves were welcomed up there, and that's where the abolitionist movement started, meaning to end slavery. A part of the impetus that went into setting up Liberia, where American slaves could be taken if they wanted to repatriate to Africa and get away from slavery in America, the ideas and support originated in those areas. So there is a
Yes,
receptivity.
and they always right, and they always lump black immigrants with black Americans. Like they think we're all the same, even though we're not.
Well, there is an appearance. See, there is a thing in American culture called the one block rule. If you can be recognized for something from one block away from the rear, then you will always have identification negatives associated with what you are. But the fact of the matter is from the rear, from one block away, you can't tell whether somebody's Asian, European, or south of the border type mix, you see. So they get kind of a free pass on this, and you can be a block back and you can spot the typical black person either by complexion or by hair, or these days by attire. So it's easy enough to, or like her, you can spot her facial features from a block away from the front, and she's got that head rag on, so you can spot that. And oh, that's one of those.
No, this out. We got to be serious here.
Well, she's not Somali, but she's black, and see the Somalis kind of by
They don't look like us.
no, but from a block away from the rear, they do. See, you've seen. Look, Omar. What kind of something does she always wear on her hair? Or even if you take
I forget all that block away.
uh
We don't look like
Crockett, she's
fools.
always got that wig on. You can spot that from
It's
a
the
block
difference.
away.
So listen,
Or the
Golden
false
says,
eyelashes these days.
Golden says Franklin County, Ohio, Columbus is corrupt. The woman has cause to fear for her safety. I live in Ohio, work with Somali. They are not to be trusted, nor cops that protect them. So I guess maybe she has a point. I don't live where she lives at. But we don't have a Somali issue up here, even though this is a blue area. There ain't no Somalis up here. The rainbow is here, but we don't have Somalis here. However, where she lives at Columbus, I guess, maybe she do have a reason to be fearful. I don't know. But girl, you are a black woman. They don't really harass black women like that. Like, I don't think so. But still staying on Ohio. So this happened. It says an American woman is furious after getting to a hit and run crash with a Somali migrant who does not have insurance. Columbus, Ohio is the number 2 Somali hotbed in the U.S. So, yeah, she got into a fender bender with a Somali immigrant who didn't have insurance. And I want to go back to this lawyer who was speaking on that.
Hey, Ohio, picture this. You're driving home, you're insured, you're registered, you're doing everything that Ohio law requires. And then bam, somebody crashes into your car and flees the scene. Later, police find the vehicle. It's completely destroyed in the front. And instead of this person taking responsibility, stunning response. I'm from Somalia, I don't have insurance, and I'm going back anyway. Let that sink in. And let's stop right here. Watch this.
And I called the police and they came over and did a police report, and I gave them a description of the vehicle, and some nearby police officers that were patrolling the area found the vehicle in a parking lot. And now the people that hit my car are telling the police that I hit them, that I backed into them. The police, of course, do not believe them.
This is not about ethnicity. This is about crime and consequences. Yes, hit and runs happen in America every day. But what doesn't happen everywhere is when somebody actually openly admits they're never going to be held accountable because they're going back to Somalia, and our system is allowing for it. This is not a random crime anymore. This is learned behavior. Everybody knows that the hypocrisy here is stunning. Nobody wants to point this out, so let's do it. Ohio requires you to carry insurance to drive. If you don't carry insurance, you can lose your license, you can lose your car, you can lose your freedom. But when somebody enters this country, let's just say illegally, drives uninsured, maybe this person was legal, I don't care, but destroys American property and then walks away, the system suddenly forgets its own rules because who pays? You do. Higher premiums, out-of-pocket repairs, zero accountability. Ohio has the second largest Somali population next to Minnesota, and increased law enforcement scrutiny here is not political, it's data driven. We're watching fraud, repeat offenses, patterns of behavior that's actually been ignored for years, and we're finally investigating it. I'm going to continue bringing these issues until we have accountability. This is not about where somebody comes from. It's whether you come here and whether you follow our laws. If you're in this country illegally and committing crimes against Americans, this is the moment to take your exit, because DHS is actually voluntarily offering self-deportation assistance, including $3,000. Take it. Get out of our state, because enforcement is back and Ohio is no longer going to be a soft target for crime. Ohio is done being a place where Americans pay the price for everybody else's lawlessness.
Listen, these illegals, they got over like a fat rat. They got free credit card, free welfare, education, healthcare, housing, jobs, transportation for 4 years under Biden. Trump comes in, he said, listen, we'll give you 3,000 to self-deport on top of all the other thousands you were getting. They're getting over like a fat rat.
Because the Democratic Party candidates and appointees get a chance to get rich off of kickbacks, bribes, and other illegal access to public funds that comes from this kind of thing. So they don't want it shut down. Too many of them would say, oh, no, 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 this is unfair. This is white supremacy. And we can't do this because it impacts black folk in America, and we don't want to look that way. Why would black people be more susceptible to criminality than anybody else? It's racist in its presumption, so and its inferences, but yet they are concerned about this issue, which is all they have. Quote, it's against us because of what we are. No, it's perhaps because you don't perform well in the role that you say you're entitled to have. And for some reason, once you get in there, you give your own people a bad name by being such crooks. And you start supporting theft and death in the streets of your urban area because you don't want anybody to come in and intrude on your good things so you can become a multimillionaire on a government check for your entire adult lifetime, or somebody that's with you gets the benefits thereof.
Right. Well,
and you can stay in politics for 25, 35, 45, 50 years and do nothing else, and you've never had a real job in the real world. Yeah, real great.
So staying in Ohio, because Trump, he is ending the Haitians' temporary protection status next month in January.
He should. They have given themselves a bad name. The Clintons hooked up with it, and they are really horrible. I had some beautiful lady that I had mentored years ago, my deceased brother, Cliff Stewart, and I had to set up a rescue for her because after that earthquake in Haiti, she was exposing that a Catholic convent with mostly black nuns was taking orphaned young black women or girls and selling them into slavery for Jesus. That's just absolutely absurd. So they were trying to kidnap this woman, and we had to give her a rescue. One of those things you see in the movies.
Right. Oh, well,
see, that's what's going on back there. Barbecue.
Right.
You know who Barbecue is?
Over in Haiti?
Yeah.
Yeah, but see, but my thing is this though, because the same way we allow the Somalis to come here and become citizens because we had something to do with that war over there in Somalia and once upon a time, they should allow those Haitians to become citizens the same way the Somalians instead of just giving them temporary status because United States in the last few decades had a lot to do, especially under the Clinton administration, had a lot to do with the corruption and breakdown of the Haitian government.
Also,
So
the Wilson administration back in World War One did not, Democratic Party administration of Woodrow Wilson did not like the bad example Haitians set for American blacks because Toussaint Louverture had gotten them free and had a successful revolution against France. World War One, we were close allies with France, and they did not like us supporting Haiti, and it was a bad example for the American Negro. So they selected Marines from Alabama, Mississippi, Arkansas, Georgia, North, South Carolina, etc., and sent them over there to Haiti, where they could be very nasty to the black Haitians. That set the stage for that sicko Papa Doc Duvalier, and then his son Baby Doc. And then by then, Haiti had gone to hell. And also, one of the things that has caused a reluctance to deal with what you're talking about, that they try to keep quiet, is because of the huge influx of those infected with HIV/AIDS because of the traffic between San Francisco
yeah.
and Haiti that was occurring, that was felt to be spreading the HIV/AIDS epidemic of the late 80s and early and mid 90s.
Well, I want to play this clip here.
Could trickle down to you and what you purchased. Today, I went to Columbus to talk to Governor Mike DeWine about what it will soon be a giant hole in the workforce in Springfield. And we talked about other things too, but in about a month, the government's going to change the status of Haitians working there in that community from legal to illegal. That's about 10,000 workers gone. I asked if the governor has appealed to the White House. He tells me he's talked to everyone who will listen.
These people who are currently legal, who came here legally, they will be, their status will change and they'll no longer be legal. When that happens, all those employers will no longer be able to employ them. And so that one day, all of them are going to be unemployed. And these companies are going to start scrambling and trying to figure out how are we going to make our production.
They're eating the dog. This issue, you'll recall, was a big one during the presidential election. I'll have more from the governor on things like why he has yet to endorse Republican Vivek Ramaswamy for governor, and if he thinks that Democrat Amy Acton, his former employee, would make a good governor.
All right. See, here's the thing. The policy says we're going to make you hire Americans. And if you don't like the quality of the workforce, we're going to compel you to do something about that and train them and condition them to be good employees. I just had a bad complaint from somebody who was a manager, overall area manager for several McDonald's franchises. And he astonished me. He said, it's true that we don't, do what you think. We actually have pictures of the product on the keys because we can't even count on some of our employees being educated well enough to even read the prices on the menu and put them into the cash register. So all they do is put to the keys. Now he says he's having a problem with employees who cannot identify the product with the pictures on the keys. And it's gotten that bad. So I said, well, you're going to have to train them. He said, obviously, but they won't allocate any amount of time reasonably necessary to make up for these personal deficits. They aren't educated. They don't have a sufficient grounding in math to do simple arithmetic, adding and subtracting. They can't count change. That's almost an impossibility. And they are on their cell phones, gossiping half the time and loud and disturbing the customers. So what are we supposed to do? I said, well, if your job is the manager to take care of that, use the initiative. Just say we're going to have to reduce our services while we train some of these people for a few weeks. And that's essentially what you're getting. And the other thing, too, they're going to have to watch South Korea. Blue Oval, that people think is with Ford Motor Company, which it is affiliated with, but it is a South Korean corporation. It defrauded St. Louis allegedly of $178 million a few years ago. And now it's in the Memphis area, and we are set to spend several $billions developing that so the local Democrats can have money under the table by changing a 5,280 population of a Mason, Tennessee, to 250,000 inside of 5 to 10 years to accommodate this place. They're hiring 30,000 people, is supposed to start production inside of 2.5 years. The company is boasting that it's already hired 15,000, but they have to be brought here, and they're running into problems now because they're South Korean citizens, not even possessed of an American green card. So what is this? You're bringing in a factory that will have 30,000 employees, and nobody that lives in this country is supposed to get a job. And ICE just had a big raid on one of the Korean automotive manufacturers down here south of our border. What's going on? South of Tennessee's border. So see, this isn't the only thing that has happened around the country. It's widespread. Now, granted, there are some problems. I'll give you one thing that they do need to change in the American workforce. When I had a ranch out in Ojai, California, I could always tell when a contractor was hiring illegals. You know how? They showed up to work early or on time. They took small breaks or none at all, and they politely asked if they could bring some cervezas to have with a couple of limes out of my citrus trees so they could have a happy hour on the spot, and they'd keep working until they got through with it. Meanwhile, anybody else, don't care what your ethnicity is, you're from the US, you get there late, you take long breaks, overextend your lunch, and you don't do your job.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
I hear you now. I didn't hear you. I just started hearing
Yeah,
you.
I
Go
don't.
ahead. I didn't realize you were
I
talking.
gotta call Spectrum. No. I wasn't really saying anything, but it was just some stuff. The connection was just being glitchy. That's why I want to make sure you can hear me. But I wanted to say this because to your point, what you just said. So we're talking about 10,000 to 16,000 TPS Haitians here in Ohio, and it's February the 3rd. That's the expiration. So the governor is saying, when you talk to business, and these are business owners, because at the end of the day, as a business person, it's about bottom line. You want to make a profit, right? So he says, when you talk to businessmen and women who are employing them, what they tell me has not changed. It continues to be, we need them to work. They are reliable. Yes, there are language challenges. Yes, there are cultural challenges. They work, they want overtime, they're reliable, and they pass drug tests. And when I read that drug test, that is, can you see me and hear me? Okay. That is a major factor on why a lot of young people and older adults, Americans, black and white, are not working because they can't pass a drug test. Coming from Newark, New Jersey, with the mayor Ross Baraka, when he was elected for the first time, it's a lot of programs that he helped usher in employment for people to work, whether it's entry level, mid level, or whatever. Can't pass drug tests. If you can't pass a drug test as a business person, you're not going to get hired. Why would I hire a drug addict? So, and we do have a drug epidemic here in this country, fentanyl or what have you. So now you have these migrants that come in here. They're not drug addicts. They're not taking drugs. They're going to show up. They're going to work. They're going to work their ass off. They know they're not getting paid probably what an American person is getting paid, but they are hard workers, they're reliable, and they could pass the drug test. And at the end of the day, this is
Well,
person, I got to make a profit.
well, see here, when I was on the bench starting 4 decades ago, um, I could set up programs, but one of the things I had to do was literally get psychological counseling for some of the offenders that were minor offenders and weren't required to be in jail too long or at all under the sentencing guidelines, was to get them away from feeling like they were victims and understanding that they had opportunity. See, foreign people come in here without this sense of victimhood. They have escaped what they did have to deal with on a day-to-day basis, which was real adversity, where somebody might put them on a wall and shoot them or gun them down in the streets for political purposes, or they get exploited and treated like peasants. So they get here, they think of the place as opportunity, which is a psychological state of mind, a state of mind that is not possessed by too many people who grew up here, who have a sense of hopelessness, thinking they're going to die pointlessly at a very early age and don't see any reason to even try. Well, these people have motivation and they come here and they have something that, if our indigenous population understood, would benefit them greatly. In other words, you don't get a damn thing unless you work hard for it. You've got to stay up late at night. You can't get this magic 8 hours of sleep every night because you read in some comic book situation on social media that says you have to get 8 hours sleep. So you get that and you don't work, where I'm entitled to it. So I don't have to study. I don't have to read up on what I'm doing. I don't have to get good grades. Somebody will take care of me type situation. These people say, well, we're here now. Look at this great opportunity. So many of these folk that look like us, they think that they need to be taken entitled. They're entitled to be taken care of. The people that run stuff think they're supposed to take care of them. So let's pretend that we're one of them and let them take care of us. But we're not getting taken care of. We're hustling these fools. We're working them.
Well,
So
right.
it's an interesting game.
So going back to Ohio, Dewan, with the Trump ending the TPS for Haitians on February 3rd, that's 10 to 16,000, let's say 10,000 job positionings that's going to be available. Okay. Well, who's going to fill it? Fill up those positions. You got to pass a drug test. So let's say that knocks out half of the 10, right? Probably can only fill up 5 because the other half, they're going to fail a drug test. Now, are they reliable? Are they hard workers? Are they willing to accept minimum wage? I'm pretty sure these are not high salary job positions. So,
Man, I got too much pride to be flipping no burgers for Mickey D's and minimum wage, man. My women's take care of me, man. I ain't got to do none of that, man.
I'm
That's the music.
curious. So, with these 10,000 positions that's going to be opening February the 3rd, if they are able to fill up those positions, will the employment rate go up, right, in the state of Ohio? And if that's the case, then maybe bringing in immigrants and letting them work and putting them over Americans is a bad thing. So I'm curious to see the outcome of this.
Well, first off, let's get to reality. How many millions of people do you have in Ohio?
I don't know.
Quite a few. Divide 15,000 by the number of millions of people you have in Ohio, and you see it's not a very large percentage.
We're talking
How
about
many
a
people?
city of particularly Springfield, Ohio.
Yeah, but it's not 15,000 in Springfield. The total that they cite is 15,000. So how many does 15, what percentage of Ohio does 15,000 constitute? It's not big. So what they're doing is, see, this is another thing with mainstream media. Why didn't they just tell us 15,000 is is a very small number of people when it comes to the employment market. It is significant because rather than just saying 15,000 and man, 15,000 people, man, they get, see, but right here in Memphis, we have 15,000 people that are unemployed that ought to be employed. So if we hired 15,000, it would put a small dent in the employment situation. Blue Oval, the Korean company, has hired 15,000 of their people to work in the factory. That's half of the workforce that they will have in their factory. But it is by no way, no how, a significant portion of what's in West Tennessee, which is a few million people who have needs.
I get what you're
So
saying. I get what
it's,
you're saying.
in other words, it's making a big deal because the number sounds big to people, but
I get what you're
it's
saying.
not.
It's well, as a state, if you're a governor of a state, you 15,000 unemployed overnight. Well, by February 13th, and I guess you know what? Listen, I'm a regular civilian, so yes, that sounds like a lot. But you're
But that happened overnight during COVID-19.
20. Oh, COVID-19. Yes, yes, yes. In 2020. Yes.
Yeah. See, so I mean, it's all relative. It happens when we have a recession. Boom, you get a lot more than that laid off, no job very quickly,
And we're
who
talking
run
about
through
like
their
we're
unemployment
talking about
compensation.
okay, just replace them with citizens. Basically, it's not.
Yeah, in other words, see what happens is you need government follow up. You don't get a job when you're able bodied and have no disabilities. You don't get this check but so long. Just like, look at this. The honest one is unemployment insurance, but there's a cutoff on how long you can be paid unemployment insurance, right? So why don't they have that for general public assistance when it's not based on disability or handicap? It's based on your immediate situation where you need a safety net to keep you from falling through the cracks like so many did in during the Great Depression. So why do they keep these checks available in perpetuity instead of saying, like, for those who generated through their own work monies that were paid into unemployment compensation funds, why don't you set a limit on the amount of time that somebody can collect a check? And either they go back to work or they go and get a further education in some vocational or academic field. So why don't you have that? Why don't you have what they had when they set this stuff up back in the 1930s? WPA, Works Progress Administration. When there are bridges, there are fire breaks, there's trash to be picked up, all kinds of things where you can pay these people that you're going to give a government check to do that are not done. Why don't you make that a requirement and says, oh, they're unfortunate, we have to pay them, they have a bad mood, so we have to understand they've been vilified by being victims. And no, see, when you have this program and you say we'll get rid of the people that are in this country who are undesirable right now, who have not become citizens, to force you to hire American citizens, to force you to train up those American citizens, to collaterally cause you to render coercion or influence to get the school system to acting like it is possessed of sense and will educate the children to be able to function in their world instead of helpless little victims. There's all kinds of fallout to this that is encouraged by saying, this system is really constipated and it needs an enema and it needs a laxative.
Well, I want to somewhat stay in Ohio because I want to switch to Ramaswamy because he is running for governor of Ohio, and that's a big.
Well, he's a citizen.
Well, he is a citizen, and
he seems to be a good one. He's a productive citizen. He seems to know about the work
I'm
ethic.
gonna vote for him.
Why not?
Yeah. So, but I want to play this clip here because He was at the American TPSU, American Fest, hosted by TPUSA last week. And he was basically saying, listen, you know, we all are one America, no matter where we come from, if you are here legally, right? No one is not more American than someone else. You know, if you are a legal citizen, we all should be one America. And so this other guy, Nick Fuentes, you know, he hit back with really some nasty racist remarks. And he has a very large following. So I want to play this clip here.
And now to some palace intrigue. Inside Donald Trump's MAGA base, cracks are beginning to show and a brewing civil war is occurring. Far-right activist Nick Fuentes has once again sparked outrage, launching a racist attack, this time at gubernatorial candidate and former presidential candidate Vivek Ramaswamy. The controversy erupted after Ramaswamy's speech at AmFest, where he challenged conservatives to rethink what it means to be American. Speaking to a largely MAGA-aligned audience, Ramaswamy argued that American identity should be rooted in shared values and ideals, not race, ancestry, or bloodline. He also directly called out racism and anti-Semitism within the movement.
If you believe in normalizing hatred toward any ethnic group, toward whites, toward blacks, toward Hispanics, toward Jews, toward Indians, you have no place in the future of the conservative movement, period.
Now, Fuentes responded swiftly and viciously. He mocked Ramaswamy's background, dismissed him as an anchor baby, and claimed that the Republican had no right to equal American identity, let alone ambitions like running for governor of Ohio.
We're not asking anymore. We're telling you. And if you think now that you're going to become the governor of Ohio, telling white people that you're as American as them, you got your anchor baby, birthright citizenship from your H-1B parents. You think you're going to go around Ohio telling people that have been there since the Revolutionary War, you're as American as them, you're now going to be their governor?
In a post laced with slurs and profanity, Fuentes told Ramaswamy to go back to India. He even went further, questioning Ramaswamy's marriage to an Indian woman, the names of his children, and even his religion, arguing that these disqualified him from belonging in America.
This is not your home, and you know it's not your home. That's why you married an Indian and you had Indian kids. You didn't even adopt the religion of our country. You should go back to India, where there's a lot more people like you. There's 1.5 billion Indians in India, and you don't have to worry about being called a Jeet there, because there's 1.5 billion Jeets in India.
The message was unmistakable. To Fuentes, citizenship is inherited, not earned. And this was not an isolated incident. In fact, just weeks earlier, Fuentes targeted Second Lady Usha Vance using a racial slur against her, a term commonly directed at people of Indian origin. Now, Vivek Ramaswamy publicly defended her, condemning the ideology behind the attacks. And soon after, her husband, Vice President J.D. Vance, stepped in himself, delivering a sharp rebuke of Fuentes and drawing a clear line between political disagreement and outright hate.
Anyone who attacks my wife, whether their name is Jen Psaki or Nick Fuentes, can eat shit. That's my official policy as Vice President of the United States.
Fuentes, however, didn't back down. Instead, he escalated, resurfacing online to mock J.D. Vance, sneering that he never expected the vice president to be warm enough to invite him to a traditional Indian family dinner. Usha Vance, the wife of the vice president, is the first Indian American and Hindu second lady of the United States. Born in California to Indian immigrant parents, her growing public presence has made her a repeat target of online abuse. A 2024 analysis by the group All In Together revealed the scale of the harassment. Between January and August of last year, researchers identified around 1,800 unique posts and nearly 16,000 interactions across major platforms containing gender and race-based attacks solely on Usha Vance. The post garnered more than 200 million views. So what we're witnessing is not just a personal feud, but a recurring collision between an inclusive vision of American identity and a hardline exclusionary worldview that refuses to evolve. And as these figures continue to circle back to each other, one thing is clear: this battle is not going away anytime soon. Because in today's America, the fight over who belongs may be just as fierce as the fight over who leads.
Wow, we whoopee. It seems the 1800 that they're talking about, negative post is about what we get. So, wow, we whoopee. Welcome to the club. But as long as you wear the uniform and you play on the team and you're trying to get touchdowns for your team or prevent the other side from getting touchdowns, you wear the uniform. You know what I think is missing that Fuentes does not get? World War One, they had troops that depended upon each other, doughboys in France, who couldn't hardly speak the same language because some of the doughboys in the trenches with other doughboys hadn't been here since the Revolutionary War. They had just gotten off the boat and they were trying to show their citizenship, but they depended on each other. Same thing with World War II, Korea, and people in the Nam found that out too. Sometimes the guy that saved your life or you have to depend upon so neither of you loses your life, didn't speak like you did, didn't have the same cultural background you did, but had on literally the same uniform. So maybe that's what's wrong with Fuentes. He doesn't get it, that if you have on the same uniform, you know, and you're about the same purpose on the same team, hey, you're part of the team, especially if you contribute to it. So that remark series on his behalf is ridiculous. Now,
He claims to be like the new Nazi version, you know, racist white boy or whatever, neo-Nazi. Like that's, I guess, like his ideology. He thinks, you know, the white race is superior. And then, and like when he was reporting in this report, and he was quoted saying he didn't even adopt the nation's religion. United States don't have.
half of religion.
No, we
What
don't.
they're trying to put out there, the theology now is the rainbow cult.
Right, because so as Republicans, they're saying, "Oh, this is a Christian nation," and then Democrats, "Oh, this is a rainbow nation." This is why we don't have an official religion. This is one of the main reasons why America even existed, is to break free from the religious dictatorship coming out of England.
Well,
So
yeah, it's even further.
mhm.
The Article 6 of the Constitution says ratified treaties shall become part of the supreme law of the land. The very first ratified treaty in American history was between the United States and France, which at that time was still a monarchy. The proposed treaty, and well, it was just switching into a republic, but it was Catholic. And the treaty says France, comma, a devout Catholic Christian nation, comma, allies itself in this respect with another Christian country, comma, the United States of America. Well, the U.S. Senate, on review of this, had some revisions. They struck that. It says it should be understood that the United States is not a Christian country, since it is inappropriate under our Constitution to have any official religion or be a respecter of religion, which in those days meant that you protected it like they did with the Church of England, that they had just gotten away from. There were 250 years of very bad history about the Church of England, starting with Henry VIII and coming forward. So this is 1792, if I'm not mistaken, and Napoleon was just trying to start doing his thing, and Marie Antoinette was contemporaneous with Let Them Eat Cake and all of this other stuff. So she
Got their
met
heads chopped.
Madame Guillotine and said
Off
hello.
with your
So
head.
what happens is Hey, he's kind of out of it, and maybe he needs to apprise himself of American history, at least what's in writing.
Right. A lot of people need to do that.
Yeah,
Listen.
one of the other ones, just since we're talking about it, very briefly. Um, we have a situation where we're talking about the original intent of the founders, and these judges, activist judges, are changing the law because it was meant to be as it was when the Constitution was ratified in 1789. Well, the very first case the U.S. Supreme Courts had said all law in the United States is judge made law until it is superseded by statutory uh, law by some legislative body. And it says, what is judge made law? They said it is the common law. What is the common law? This is a direct quote. Quote, the common law is that body of judge made law based on tradition, precedent, and get this, evolving conditions of society. And they cited a 1661 English case before the House of Lords, which was 130 years before that, that said the exact same thing. So it's been long the case in Anglo-Saxon, read American law, that the law changes and evolves based on the changing conditions of society. So when you hear somebody say that, everybody that was on the first composition, well, of the on the U.S. Supreme Court as it was first composed, was either a signer of the Declaration of Independence, fought in the Revolutionary War, or struggled to get the Constitution adopted in the first place. And unanimously, they said the law of the land, until superseded by statutory law, is that body of judge made law based on tradition, precedent, and the evolving conditions of society. Now,
Right.
excuse me.
So here's the thing. I'm voting for Vivek. He does have a contender on the Democrat side. I don't trust a Democrat at all. So
Scoundrels, and they're likely to give another equivalent to the Somalis free reign to steal and misappropriate so they can get a cutback under the table.
Juan, by the end of January, beginning of February, he needs to endorse Vivek in the first quarter of next year. Trump needs to endorse Vivek, and I'm pretty sure he is, especially if you want to save the Republican Party with the next presidential election by making sure the states stay red. JD Vance, I believe, did support him, but people are going to really start coming out on the campaign trail next year. And like I said, I'm really going to start hitting the road too here in Ohio because this is a big election year here. And even if our state Senate is Republican, I still don't want a Republican governor. I mean, I still don't want I don't want a Democrat governor. I had enough of those. So
they like thievery.
Yeah, and just and whatever powers that a governor have over the state Senate, if it's a Democrat in charge, I don't trust the DNC. You know, I don't trust the Democrat Party as a whole, that whole agenda. So
the whole agenda that gets me is anchored on one in particular. How much hair can a guy have on his face and still piss in the girls' bathroom?
Right. And the thing with Vivek, you know, whether you are a Republican or a Democrat, he's willing and wants to talk to everybody. He doesn't just stick to his own kind. So, you know, I like that too about him.
And this kid, you know, he doesn't
Yeah,
he doesn't look like somebody that could walk into a room and secure its immediate attention.
Right. Exactly. He doesn't demand a
And he
room.
looks like he got run home from school a lot when he was in high school, or would have 40 years ago anyway.
Right, exactly. So
excuse me, but I can't help but look at things that way. He might be a fine guy, but something sounds wrong about him.
right. So I want to dip a little bit into some DEI. So just a couple more things on the list here. Got to go to New York because your favorite mayor, he appointed this woman
What woman?
in this video.
You gotta see the picture.
That's a woman.
That?
Yes.
Oh.
He appointed that woman, and I guess she's using the she her pronouns to head the fire department in New York. But it's just one catch because Elon has something to say about it. But I want to play this clip here.
Lillian Bonsignor is a career first responder. In just 9 days, she'll be running the world's busiest fire department, one of the most important appointments of the incoming administration.
And they deserve a leader who cares about their work because she did it herself, who understands every detail, and who will fight tirelessly to empower FDNY and make it the best firefighting force in the world.
Lillian Bonsignor began her career as an EMT in 1991 and was ultimately promoted to chief of the city's EMS division, where she served for 3 years before retiring in 2022. Although she never served as a firefighter, she's confident that won't matter.
I know the job. I know what the firefighters need, and I can translate that to this administration who's willing to listen. I know what EMS needs. I have been EMS for 30 plus years.
Bonsignor is a trailblazer for the LGBTQ community, who will serve as the FDNY's first openly gay commissioner. She's a highly respected, detail-oriented manager whose style has been compared to NYPD Commissioner Jessica Tisch, who will remain in her post in the new administration.
Doesn't it seem somehow insulting to pick somebody over a department who's never done what that department does for a job?
Yeah.
That's ridiculous. That is just straight up and down DEI.
So, and this is what Elon had to say. Let me put this here. He says, people will die because of this. Proven experience matters when lives are at stake. And Zohan replied, experience does matter, which is why I opponent the person who spent more than 30 years at EMS. The workforce that addresses at least 70% of all calls coming into the FDNY. Answering a call and actually putting out some damn fires are two different things.
And wait a minute. The call is emergency services. It's under most fire departments, but the thing that fire departments do is to stop conflagrations from occurring. Remember the Los Angeles fire not too long ago and the disaster that it caused? What happened? That's what people are talking about. The emergency services get there after the firemen have pulled somebody out of the fire.
Right.
Yeah, so that's what's essential. It's just an insult, more DEI crap. And I find it interesting, the politically intriguing endorsement Trump gave is just saying, hey, I gave you my blessing. Let's see what you can do. It's going to fail because you're going to get deep off into DEI. And by the way, anybody listening, I'm still suspended on X. All I can do is get post. I can't post or reply. And they've been sending me this stuff, things you might be interested in, which are some far left woke idiots in their stupid commentary. And by the way, you might want to point out to X that it's a disservice to Elon Musk, who owns the thing, to knock somebody off who has never had a complaint that was shown to have any substance to it, for reasons of supporting Musk's own policies. Isn't that something? That's essentially what they knocked me off for. So they didn't want to hear any more of my commentary. And I didn't have that many followers, only 130, 150,000 folk. But there was an estimate to 10 times that many regularly listened to what I had to say, but didn't want to sign on as official followers because there was a negative onus to following anybody like me who is conservative.
Well, are you going to start another account?
They said I'm permanently blocked from starting an account. And if I try to, I won't even be able to listen. But interestingly enough, just last week on Wednesday, they sent posted a thing saying an advisement, I'd been permanently suspended. And all I could do was listen, but not post. And then, interestingly enough, the link that they put in there was the first actual access to an appellate process that I have been able to find. And when I accessed it, they already had my name in there, my email account, phone number, and a space to actually type in something, which I did. And I just said, you might find it interesting that since I'm about to do something politically here in Shelby County where Mr. Elon Musk is starting up his XAI venture that is so egregiously opposed by the Democratic factions in this area that I got suspended for essentially backing up his policies. So I'm sure I will have a conversation with him, and I intend to bring this to his attention.
I think when you got that second appeal notice, I think you could start another account. Try it. See
No,
what happens.
it says in there, there's more to it on the email. I didn't send you the whole thing. It says any effort to open up another account will result in your permanent expulsion from the community.
Oh God, yeah. Well,
So
hopefully
I'm banned from Facebook. I've never posted anything on Facebook. I just had an account so I could check out what people sent me, and in the process picked up the maximum number of, what do they call it, friends. So they stripped all that. They just said I'm a fake, I'm not who I claim to be. So
Yeah.
it's me, but I can't post on Facebook, can't post on X, and somehow or another they just don't want me. I'm an anathema. I've been blackballed, it seems. Wonder why.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe hopefully it will get reversed.
Well, I am going to have a conversation with Mr. Musk because of some of the politics that some people are trying to recruit me to get involved in. I might have an announcement in a couple of weeks about that, but I'm going to have a conversation with him.
Yeah.
And
Well,
somebody might write in and say, hey, we miss Judge Joe Brown. We'd like to hear what he's got to say.
right.
And by the way, it seems somebody's coming in to hang the doors. I can listen to you.
We mean to hang the door. We got a couple more things to
I
talk
know,
about.
but hold on. That's from this construction thing, the doorbell thing. Hold on. Hold on.
So,
Be right back.
okay. So while we wait for the judge, guys, can you please hit the like button and share? And by the way, I put a goal. I put a goal. And nobody didn't send a super chat for the goal. How much was the goal? Was it $5? I think. I'm about to put another poll too. Okay, so 95% of you guys said, because I said, should Governor Walz and Elon Omar be removed? 95% said yes. Only 5% said no. So I'm going to put another poll while we wait for the judge to come back. Vivek, would you do you support Vivek for governor of Ohio? Do you support Vivek for governor? Okay, got another poll in there. So guys, hit the like button, share. We have how many more things? Let's see. Check. 1, 2, maybe like 3 or 4 more. honestly, I really don't want to talk about the Trump-Netanyahu-Zelensky. I'm tired of them, but it's it's new, so we're gonna briefly touch on that. Should we talk about Tyler Perry? Actually, let me let you guys vote. Mhm. I'm about to change the poll real quick. Do you support Vivek for governor? 75% of y'all said no. Oh no, honey, you better change that to a yes. So I don't know if y'all even live in Ohio. So you mean to tell me if you do live in Ohio, you mean you want the Democrat governor? Why do people don't like Vivek? What are other options? What is the alternative? There is none. There's no other alternative. Come on. And you know what? I like this 3:00 spot on Mondays. I do. I do. All right. So you probably want to get a little bit ticked off with this next topic. It's still DEI. So Representative Presley demands immediate action to address Black unemployment crisis in a letter she wrote to Jerome Powell. But I'm going to play this clip when she was on Al Sharpton's show.
Chicken George.
Yeah, Chicken George.
Again, the numbers don't lie. And as we say so often, when white America catches a cold, Black folks catch pneumonia. And you see that enumerated in these devastating statistics, which is devastating in its implication for Black women, for Black families, and for Black futures. And unemployment is at an all-time 4-year high, across the board. And so the Fed has a dual mandate of full employment. This is a crisis. Black women have always been the canary in the coal mine, have been a bellwether for what will happen to everyone else. And so they need to take heed. They need to develop real strategies and a real action plan, because although Black women and Black families and Black futures will bear the brunt of this without intervention, this hurt will come for everyone. Again, the numbers don't lie. And as we say,
so she's talking about, she's demanding that the Federal Reserve Board take immediate action to address the alarming spike in Black unemployment.
The Federal Reserve Board.
Yes.
And what is their particular position in this relative to what they might do about it?
Well, it says they are requesting that the Fed board brief members of the Congressional Black Caucus on the matter. In a letter to Fed Chair Jerome Powell, first obtained by Griot Presley of Massachusetts and Clark of New York, who is chairwoman of the Congressional Black Caucus, described the latest 8.3% joblessness rate among Black Americans as a crisis and placed the blame squarely on President Trump's policies.
Wow.
The alarming high rates of unemployment in the Black community are a glaring red flag with negative implications of the broader economy. It is critical that you take immediate action to fulfill the statutory mandate to promote maximum employment for all people of all races and gender. The Federal Reserve, established by Congress in 1913, is the nation's central banking system that sets monetary policy independently with the intent of avoiding a financial crisis. Citing their authority of congressional oversight, the two U.S. representatives requested a briefing from the federal bank to discuss high unemployment and solutions for the Black community and our nation. Despite President Trump toting a positive outlook on the U.S. economy in his Wednesday night address, this was like a month ago, millions of Americans remain financially strained, most especially Black Americans. Since Trump took office in January, the unemployment rate of Black workers has steadily increased, some of which was a result of Trump's purge of federal workforce and dismantling DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion.
Yeah, black unemployment has dropped, which is interesting. It doesn't make the Democratic Party's narrative, doesn't match their narrative. The other thing is right here in Memphis, there is a thing about getting young black folk employed. They just don't seem to want to be. And the local Democrats are against theft and death being reduced. And they basically say young black people are deprived and depressed, so their criminality should be understood, which is a sick thing to say. And maybe what needs to happen is board of educations that are controlled by the Democratic Party, mayor's offices that are controlled by the Democratic Party, state legislative assemblages that are controlled by the Democratic Party, city councils, county commissions, boards of aldermen that are controlled by the Democratic Party. Perhaps they need to start emphasizing work ethic, education, practical academics, STEM advancement, and vocational training for those who are out there, rather than trying to say everybody is poor, down and out, can't help themselves, and is entitled to be taken care of. Yeah.
True.
And
Now,
this clown right here, what is he doing? He's supposed to be Reverend Al Sharpton. Does he even have a church?
No, he does. He never did.
Never did. Oh, that's right. They ordained him when he was 6, or was it 8 years old? And what kind of congregation is fool enough to listen to an 8-year-old child tell them about sin and how to act with it?
Well, it says, according to the Center for American Progress, Trump economic policies, including his global tariffs on foreign trade, are disproportionately hurting Black Americans and Black businesses, which have higher rate of job creations for Black workers. Presley and Clark's letter cites U.S. Census data that Black workers make up 20% less than white workers, contributing to the racial wealth gap. And the median Black family has a net worth of $24,000 compared to $250,000 of the median white family. I.e., when I was talking about earlier with the baby boomers passing down.
Well, okay,
you know,
let's
their
take this. Let's take one thing that Black folk have been trying to get into. You're talking about Diddy and everything. If you check Wikipedia out, if it hasn't been changed, I was supposed to be the highest paid employee in Hollywood. But look at me. You know, I might be high bright, but I've identified as being Black my whole life. So, yeah. Okay, so you can't get to the top. I mean, I don't have that now. The ex got it during the divorce proceedings out in California and right after we broke up. But that's another case. So it is what it is. That means that, and I came out of South Central Los Angeles, and that means that if you pay attention to what you're supposed to be paying attention to, there is nothing that will prevent you from rising to the top anywhere you want to be in this country. Take a Lucy. He is head of the trajectory calculation department at NASA. He's a rocket scientist. He grew up in the streets, went to the U.S. Marine Corps, came out, wound up going through all of the STEM stuff, and now he is a rocket scientist, literally. So he's at the top of his game. You can see him on the Science Channel sometimes during specials. So, you can get anywhere that you want.
Right. Well, here's the thing. She also says the Federal Reserve must comprehensively analyze the impact of Black workers' job losses and develop a strategic plan to confront this crisis. For Black families throughout our nation, gainful employment is necessary key to unlock opportunity and prosperity. Well, I'm like, where was y'all at?
Yeah,
in
where the
last
hell were your asses when this was your bailiwick and you had complete charge of the game? You would
Right.
referees, the players on both sides, the officials, the financiers, the team owners, and you let the ball drop because you didn't do shit except start pushing that crazy rainbow theology at
So
all
you were
costs.
giving billions of dollars to illegals.
Yeah. So shut up. You're full of it. And Chicken George over there is one to talk. Boy, KFC ought to set up a chicken protection fund from him. They are at peril. He talks about how he loves his fried chicken. What they call him on the front page of the New York Post, Reverend Rat for thinking on the mob. Yeah.
All right, so God. Netanyahu, every hostage was released because of me. This is Trump praising himself. Honestly, I don't feel like talking about Netanyahu or Lazinski. They were at Mar-a-Lago over the weekend, back to back.
Netanyahu is interesting. He's prime minister of Israel, right? But he self-professes to be an atheist. So it's kind of an oxymoron. The person and head of the Jewish nation, Israel, is an atheist who doesn't believe in the religion.
Because that Zionist doesn't mean that you are really a practicing Jewish person.
Yeah, it's a
So,
culture, see, so
or political ideology,
yeah.
basically.
So it's kind of strange. And by the way, if you want to get a good understanding, there is another former prime minister of Israel now dead. His name was Menachem Begin. You ought to read his autobiography. He was a former English commando during World War II, and he boasts of all of the people he personally assassinated, all of the mosques, schools, and hospitals he blew up or burned up, and all of the people he killed in the process. He later, when he got with Menachem Begin in 1976 during the Carter administration to set up a treaty between Egypt and Israel, he did give an acknowledgement that perhaps he was wrong and that set the stage for a lot of animus that Israel still suffers from.
Well, even though I don't want to go into their meeting, but I do want to highlight this because we was talking about Somalia earlier. Netanyahu / Israel has endorsed, he recognizes Somaliland. Let me play this clip.
Now has the world's most powerful nations watching it closely. We're talking about Somaliland. It is a breakaway region that unilaterally separated from Somalia in 1991. The self-declared republic has its own currency, passports and army, but no international recognition. Somaliland functions as a self-governing de facto independent state in Somalia's northwest. However, that changed on Friday. Israel has officially recognized Somaliland. It is the first country in the world to do so. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, who was on video call with Somaliland's president when he announced the decision.
Before anything else, I want you to know that I'm signing now, as we speak, Israel's official recognition of Somaliland and its right of self-determination. Our friendship is seminal and historic. So I'm very, very happy and I'm very proud of this day.
Adding to that, Netanyahu said the decision is in the spirit of the Abraham Accords. The move triggered reactions immediately across the world, starting with Somaliland. The breakaway region's president thanked Israel for its quote-unquote brave decision. The people of Somaliland took to the streets to celebrate the move. They hoisted Somaliland's flags along with that of Israel. While Somaliland hailed Netanyahu's move, the Somali president has condemned it. He called Somaliland a part of Somalia and slammed Netanyahu for trying to divide the country.
We tell the world the infringement committed by Netanyahu and his attempt to divide the Federal Republic of Somalia endangers the peace and tranquility of the world and the region.
A few months ago, media reports showed that the US and Israel want to move displaced Palestinians to African nations, and Somaliland is one of them. But Somalia has made it clear that it would not let that happen.
Warn Israel and its prime minister to stop trying to divert the seditious conflict and war they are committing in the Middle East to the territory of the Federal Republic of Somalia.
The people of Somalia too are angry over Israel's move. They have called Israel's decision regrettable.
For Somaliland to be recognized is a great wound to us, and we do not accept it and will not accept it. Somalia belongs to itself. There is no such thing as something called Somaliland.
And the Al-Qaeda-linked Al-Shabaab terror group has also vowed to fight against any attempt by Israel to claim or use parts of Somaliland. One of Israel's top foes, the Houthis, have also lodged a protest. The group has warned that any Israeli presence in Somaliland would be considered a military target. But why are they so alarmed? This because Israel's recognition of Somaliland is likely to provide Tel Aviv with better access to the Red Sea. That could enable Israel to hit Houthi rebels in Yemen, and the backlash does not end there. With his decision, Netanyahu has also irked the African Union, Egypt, Turkey, the European Union, the Gulf Cooperation Council, and the Organization of Islamic Cooperation. Netanyahu's top ally, US President Donald Trump, says he does not support Israel's recognition of Somaliland. In an interview, he said, and I quote, "Does anyone know what Somaliland is, really?" This one particular move has caught the world's eye. Why is a country that no one recognizes except Israel getting so much attention? Why does Somaliland matter at all? The answer lies in Somaliland's position. Nearly 30% of global container trade passes through a narrow stretch of water called the Bab el-Mandeb Strait. It is the gateway between the Indian Ocean and the Red Sea, linking Asia, Europe, and Africa. And Somaliland sits right next to it. Missile and drone attacks in the Red Sea have forced shipping companies to reroute vessels or seek safer paths. That makes ports along the Horn of Africa.
My point with this is if Memphis, Shelby County does what I think it ought to do about expanding international trade using preloaded barges and ocean-going barge transports, a lot of the shipping will be going past this area, going through the Mediterranean and on into the Pacific. From the other way around, it'll save 9,000 miles from it going from the Pacific West Coast, from Western Pacific areas, Japan, Korea, Cambodia, Laos, Vietnam, such like, rather than going across the Pacific to the harbor in Los Angeles, Long Beach Harbor. It would go through the Suez Canal, through the Mediterranean, up to New Orleans, and then from New Orleans to Memphis. So I was keeping up with this because it would have a big impact on the local economic situation if certain policies get put in place here in this area where I am.
Yeah. And then too, when they said Israel, Netanyahu wants access to the Red Sea. See, it's water. It's about controls, about imports. You know, he don't really care about Somalian people and nothing like that. And honestly, it's like, okay, you're the only nation, you're the only country recognizes Somaliland. You take your ass over there and you get into some type of military conflict with the military there. Don't call us. And this is why I'm really tired of America, our American government talk about fraud and billions of dollars, sending billions and trillions of dollars to Israel when he's always going throughout the world starting shit.
See, the real deal on the diplomatic,
do it on your own dime.
see, the real deal on the military and the diplomatic scene is that Israel, Egypt, and Saudi Arabia act as proxies for the United States government, for Great Britain, and for France They keep up a public quarrel about minor things for appearances. But the intelligence communities of Egypt, Israel, and the Saudis cooperate closely. And that's how we keep finger on the scale down there. There is potentially a great amount of energy, oil, some mineral energy that's not oil or petroleum based that we are interested in. And also the fact that in that area, you have a very large percentage of the world's seaborne commerce passing through. They
Right.
had a thing back in the mid 50s when the Suez Canal was closed down, and Great Britain and France wanted to go to war behind it. The U.S. was opposed to it, but things worked themselves out through negotiation. But every now and then it flares up because the Mediterranean, since Phoenician times, has been a very important place in the scheme of the economies of the world.
I want to just share the map real quick, so people could get like an understanding here. Maybe if I do it like this, or like this.
It's kind of dark, but
Oh, let me see. Let me make this bigger for you then. Yeah, it is kind of dark, but this is will be Somaliland over here, touching Ethiopia and Djibouti, but right across the Gulf of Aden, right?
right
Is
after
Yemen.
you get through the Suez Canal, it's in a position to strategically control access to,
Oh, this
through,
is the
and
Red Sea.
from.
Where's the Suez Canal? The Suez Canal.
Now is see go okay. Follow on around. See the little narrow gap that you see.
Wait.
Find the Mediterranean and come down. Okay, there's your
I'm
Mediterranean.
going up.
Yeah,
That's what I'm saying. The canal is up. The Suez Canal is up
yeah.
here. That's in Egypt.
Yeah,
We're down
but
here in
if you
Somaliland.
if you control that area, so you
Or
can
the Red
swoop
Sea.
around
Yeah.
and you can control the entrance and the exit from the Suez Canal.
Right. Exactly. Yes. And then Yemen is here, Saudi Arabia. I also look at it when we talk about like terrorist groups or whatever, conflict with the Middle East. You position yourself, because I really do believe one of the main reasons why we do fund Israel is that we can have a outlook post on all of the Middle East over here.
Also, there is a little thing about trying out your military hardware. A
Right. So if
great deal of the Israeli Air Force is composed of pilots on furlough from the U.S. Air Force, Navy, Marine Corps, from the RAF, that's English, from the French Air Force. And they're on furlough and they fly for the Israelis. That's why they refuse to publish the names of active flyers for the Israeli Air Force. In fact, that American reconnaissance ship that was sunk in the mid 1960s, most all of the force that sank it was composed of American officers, Air Force, Navy, Marine Corps, who were on furlough, and they should have been tried for treason. But they sank an American vessel, and it was a big scandal that got covered up. And we get our pilots combat experience doing that, which is proved invaluable with Red Flag and Top Gun. We also found out that our tanks back in the 70s had a flaw. They had a hydraulic fluid used to power the turrets and the gun control mechanisms that the troops called cherry juice because it looked like that. But it was found to be extremely flammable. If the tank were hit and one of the lines were ruptured and a fine spray came out, it would blow up like a bomb and immolate the crew. So they discovered that. They found out that the bugaboo of the Russian tank, the Soviet tank that everybody thought was superior to the American tanks, was not the case because we had supplied so many M48 tanks and then M60 tanks to the Israelis to test. Now we are licensing an indirect defense system so that the tank can shoot down incoming cannon shells and rockets, so it doesn't have to depend on the armor. So we have also been picking up a lot of things tactics wise when it comes to fighting a modern war rather than this asymmetric one like that has been going on in third world areas or in Somalia. And by the way, you want to find out a lot of what that's about, watch the movie Black Hawk Down. That's what it's about.
Yeah, I gotta watch that movie. Yeah.
An arrogant American commander and who did not properly pay attention to his troops, and the arrogance of the troops saying, oh, no big deal. They came in there under equipped and they got really pound starved. And there was a really weird thing. They were on a mission to catch or kidnap a Somali guerrilla leader who was the father of a U.S. Marine officer who was on the staff of the general that had ordered the strike. So his mother had fled Somaliland with him and brought him to Long Beach, California, where he got raised, and he joined the Marine Corps. So he was a Marine officer and he was on the staff that was engaged in the planning to kidnap his own daddy.
Interesting. All right.
So there's all kinds of weird, but see the movie if you want to get a feel for what the place was like.
Okay. All right, listen, that's it. We've been up here 2 hours and 40 minutes, and I think that's enough. Anything else, I'll just save it from when we're gonna record on Wednesday and not Thursday. But I like, how do you, huh?
Wednesday night?
There could be Wednesday during the day. Why? Where you going? That's New
That
Year's.
other political thing, they're trying to get me at a
You
meeting.
ain't going nowhere Wednesday night because it's New Year's Eve.
That's right. That's during the daytime. It's week after this. Yeah, it's New Year's Eve. That's right. I like that day. New Year's Eve is good for me.
So we could pre-record the Injustice for All and whatever else that I have on here. But how do you like that? I like the afternoon here on Monday instead of Monday night.
That it works for me, no problem.
And I think you're more fresh in the afternoon.
Less angry at all of the stupidity that I see around the city.
Yeah, because it didn't catch up. So if I catch you in the afternoon on a Monday, you didn't absorb all the stupidity of the day that you accumulated by 9 p.m. at night.
Yeah, see, I'm bombarded by this problem. White, black, brown, red, yellow doesn't make any difference. People say, why are you so interested? Why don't
What happened? Really? I really do think people did that on purpose. Call him.
many going along to get along?
Okay,
You there?
Yeah, I'm there. Can you hear me?
You froze.
Can you hear me? Is he going black on my end or his end? I can't see him or hear him. Okay, he'll come back. Yeah. Honey, I don't like the poll. I don't. What is this? What we're doing here? Okay, so 47 yes. I don't know. That poll needs to be higher. So let me ask you guys this. Should we do the Man Up show 3 p.m.? Should we do the Man Up show Monday, Man Up show? Let's see. 3 p.m. Eastern or 9 p.m. All right. Do you prefer? Let's see. Yeah. do you prefer? How the fuck you spell prefer? The Man Up Show. What time? Oh yeah. All right. I'll just ask the question. What is going on with the judge? What time should we do the Monday Man Up? Here I come, Judge. Man Up Show. 3 and 9. I'm going to say 3. What happened?
Nothing. It's just somebody called and knocked me off. I had to get back on.
Yeah, tell them stop calling.
I
Shit. You
do. I have this on focus, they call it now, which is do not disturb, but it doesn't seem to do anything.
Okay, thank you, Prefer. Prefer. Thank you. I just switched it up. So yeah, so I like 3. So I'm putting a survey, what time should we do? I said should be do. I meant to say we. What time should we do the Man Up Show? Not be do. Is we do. 3 or 9, and the majority are saying that 3. Yeah, so I think we have a new time, 3 p.m. on Monday.
I think you would try. I thought you were trying to pick a special pronoun or something.
No.
Isn't that the most absurd thing? They're having a hard enough time teaching these kids proper English that has become the language of commerce, trade, and navigation all over the world. And these kids don't know how to speak it, even though they grow up in a country where it is the native language. And now they're trying to corrupt it. So there are special bastardizations of the language so that, what is it? We is, when you're talking about he is instead of he is, you say we. So you're supposed to say we is, or are you supposed to say we are? And somebody is expecting a whole bunch of people to show up, and there's just one clown with a mental health problem and an ego thing thinking he is royal we, or they is, or they are, or what are you supposed to say? Or you have enough trouble trying to remember the rules in English, let alone some worthless somebody's name who is a misfit, and you're supposed to remember his special pronoun or get in trouble. Oh, go to hell. You lost your minds.
Yeah. Well, listen, thank you everybody for tuning in. And of course, thank you, Judge. And everybody, listen, happy holidays. And I'm going to go live Wednesday afternoon, and then we can record either before that or after that, Judge, on Wednesday, because I want to record it. I don't want to
Yeah,
record it on
that's right.
Thursday.
New Year's, isn't it? My
New,
favorite
yeah,
holiday.
New Year's Day is Thursday, but New Year's Eve is Wednesday.
I was thinking it was the other.
No.
Yeah.
So I'm going to grab you to record before you go outside on New Year's Eve.
Okay, it's fine with me.
Say goodnight, Judge.
Good night. I thought we were doing this live.
We are live. Say goodnight.
Well, it ain't night yet. It's still.
It's about to be 6. Oh, okay, it's like 4:00 where you at. It's about to be 6. It's dark outside though.
4:45. 4:05. But the sun, it's still daylight out there.
Oh, it's dark where I'm at.
You're going on 6, so it's winter
it's about to be
time.
dark
So
anyway.
yeah. Well, I tell you, I wish everyone a great 24 hours.
Why 24 hours?
The whole day, somewhere in the day.
Oh,
You
a
might
good
be in
24
England
hours.
where
Yeah,
it's dark, and you might
Oh,
be in
somebody was
Hawaii
listening
where
from
it is broad
Germany.
daylight.
You know why I like 3 p.m.? Because the people watching overseas, whether in London or Germany, somebody was listening in Germany. We have the guy that listens in Australia. They don't have, if I start at 9, it's like 4 in the morning their time. So they're at home at work already overseas and in the UK and Germany or what have you. So they get to really watch the show as well. So I'm gonna stick to 3 on Monday. All right, everybody. Bye. Let me get the outro. What is
Don't
this?
forget the barbecue.
Yeah.